60% of Americans don't earn enough to afford basic costs of living.
This is America.
And stop calling it the bottom 60%. 60% is over 50%, which means it's the overwhelming majority of people in the United States that cannot afford a minimum quality of life.
The media has been completely lying to you about the job market. I've been in recruiting for a decade, and I've literally never seen candidates struggle as much as they are in the job market right now. I'm hearing about people who are having to apply to hundreds, if not thousands of jobs. 99% of those jobs, they're not hearing anything back. It's like applying into a black hole.
We got a problem. And it's all something almost no one here ever talks about. We're not having children.
Oh, really? God, wonder why. I wonder why we're not having children. Maybe it's because we can't afford it. Y'all bleed us dry every step of the way. Y'all bleed us in taxes. Y'all bleed us in medical bills. Y'all bleed us in college debt. Y'all bleed us in cost of living. Y'all bleed us in rent increases. Y'all bleed us in minimum wage. Y'all bleed us in gas prices. Y'all bleed us at the grocery store. Or how about y'all realize that's not the 1% that makes the world go around, it's the rest of us.
What's good? I'm DonTheConMan. Welcome to the channel. We break down the drama, react to the mess, and call out the culture. If you vibe with that, hit the like button. Want to stay locked in? Subscribe and tap the bell. No face, no fluff, just real talk. Let's get into it.
We've been priced out of buying a home. We've been priced out of going to the grocery store and just getting the things that we need. We've been priced out of medical care. We've been priced out of Social Security. We've been priced out of 401ks, retirements, everything. We've been priced out of life. We've been priced out of children. We've been priced out at every single step. And they wonder why we're not having children. Like, I don't, and then the people that are like, well, just work hard and just do this and just do that. You have never actually lived in the time that we're living in right now. I wish all the boomers had to start over right now. Start from scratch, because the company that you're going to be hired to is not going to offer you benefits. You're not going to get health insurance. You're not going to get a 401k. You're not going to get barely any PTO, and you're going to get paid so much less in comparison to what it was back then. Cost of it, like, people don't do the math actually right, because they're like, well, y'all are getting paid so much more, da 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 da. The new $5 back when you were doing stuff is now $20. The new $20 back when you were doing stuff is $100. So we might be getting paid just marginally more, which actually minimum wage federally hasn't changed since 2009. Fact check that. I'm pretty sure it was 2009. Get out of here. The boomers, go. And I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. We have been priced out of life.
Let's stop pretending this is normal. It's 2025, and for most people, just existing is financially unsustainable. I'm not talking about balling out, not talking about flexing on IG or living some luxury lifestyle. I'm talking about basic survival, housing, food, transportation, health. Everything costs more than it ever has in modern history, and your paycheck isn't keeping up. Rent is up 30% since 2020. Groceries up nearly 35%. Car insurance, try 45% in some states. And your wages flatlined. It doesn't matter how responsible you are one flat tire, one ER visit, one surprise bill away from drowning. There's no life jacket and no one is coming to save you. Just keep smiling while you keep your head above water.
The media has been completely lying to you about the job market. I've been in recruiting for a decade, and I've literally never seen candidates struggle as much as they are in the job market right now. I'm hearing about people who are having to apply to hundreds, if not thousands of jobs. 99% of those jobs, they're not hearing anything back. It's like applying into a black hole. If they do hear back, we're hearing about interview processes that are longer and longer. 5, 6, 7, even 8 or 9 rounds of interviews. And these interviews can last over months and months. We're hearing about an average job search that's now taking 5 to 8 months. Throughout the interview process, we're hearing about more and more assessments. I'm hearing about take-home work that is taking hours and hours and is typically unpaid. And if you're lucky enough to get to the offer stage, do not expect to get an offer for whatever you discussed in that first phone call with a recruiter. Companies are lowballing candidates because they know if you don't accept their offer, they have 3 or 4 other people that will. Welcome to the 2025 job market.
I got fired from my second job because I wouldn't post a ghost job. So let me explain what I do for my second job, what I did for my second job. I was a hiring manager. I usually just post job listings sometimes on Indeed or other job listing websites for my company. I'm not going to explain what company that is because I can't do that. But I am going to talk about what I can talk about because I read through my NDA. I used to post ghost jobs, which are fake jobs to encourage our current employees to work harder. These jobs will be fake jobs, so you can apply for the listing, but not actually get hired. They're called ghost jobs. You're probably wondering, I applied for all these places, why am I not getting callbacks? You might have applied for a ghost job, which isn't a real job. It's just put there to show that we're looking for new hires at higher rates to get our current employees to work harder.
Meet John Doe. He's in his early 20s and eager to jump into the workforce. He sees a job listing that looks perfect to him. So he brushes up his resume, he writes an awesome cover letter, applies, and then waits. So after a month or so, he actually sees the same job posting relisted, which makes him super frustrated. John isn't alone. Many people are frustrated by applying to these kinds of jobs that seem to have no intention of hiring anyone.
If you are in the position of trying to find a new job, of course you don't want to waste your time applying for these ghost jobs.
But it turns out all those open job postings that you see online might not even be real.
Ghost jobs are a phenomenon that have existed for a long time, but they've come to light much more in recent years, and they've become much more of a significant issue in the job market.
4 in 10 companies posted fake job listings in 2024, and 3 in 10 are currently advertising for a role that isn't real, according to a May survey from Resume Builder.
The rise of ghost job posting definitely points to a cooling in the economy.
So what do they tell you? Just get a better job. But here's the scam. There aren't better jobs, just better lies. Between January 2023 and May 2025, over 800,000 workers were laid off across tech, logistics, retail, and finance. But somehow job boards are still flooded with openings. Here's the truth. A huge chunk of those listings are fake. They're called ghost jobs, positions posted just to collect resumes or keep up appearances. A 2023 survey from Clarify Capital found that 68% of hiring managers admitted to posting job ads for roles they weren't actively trying to fill. Let me say that again. Nearly 7 out of 10 listings aren't real opportunities. Why? Because collecting resumes makes a company look prepared. Posting jobs makes them look like they're growing. It's all smoke for investors, not opportunities for applicants like you. So you sit there polishing your resume, rewriting cover letters, hitting send 20 times a week, and wondering why nobody calls back. It's not you. There was never a job to begin with, and yet the system still blames you. Maybe you need more experience. Maybe you should go back to school. Maybe your resume needs work. Nah. Maybe the economy is full of ish. Maybe we really are in a recession, and yet they want to keep gaslighting us like we are not in one. Maybe this whole thing is a rigged game where the goalposts keep moving and you're stuck on a treadmill wondering why you never get ahead.
My biggest concern with our country turning into a renter's economy is how will the millennial and Gen Zers retire comfortably if they don't own a house and are going to have to rent forever? Because if you look at 1994, the average house was $130,000 and rent was $450. If someone bought a house in 1994, 30 years later, today, that home is probably worth around $400,000 and it's paid off. That is part of their net worth. Rent is $1,950. But they don't have to pay $1,950 because their house is paid off. They have property taxes and homeowners insurance for only $600. So think about someone who's 58 to 68 who bought a house in the 90s. It's now paid off. They're not burdened with the high rent. They only pay $600 for housing. That is a big deal. Well, what if the same thing happens from 94 to 2024 in the next 30 years? The average house in 2054 will be $1.2 million, rent will be $8,500, but the property tax and homeowners insurance on this home will only be $2,000. So if someone was able to buy a house now or a couple years ago or in a few years, they'll have a house worth $1.2 million in their net worth. They won't be burdened with $8,500 and they can retire with a housing burden of only $2,000. But what about the people who can't buy a house and in 30 years they're going to be spending $8,500 on rent? How do you retire if your rent's going to be $8,500? You go, Freddie, that's ridiculous. Why? Los Angeles, Miami, New York, Vancouver are already spending $4,000 or $5,000. Why wouldn't Orlando, Cleveland, Pittsburgh, Buffalo, Phoenix, why wouldn't it be $8,500? This is a major concern. How can you give the millennials and Gen Z and Gen Alpha hope about the future if we don't get these institutional investors under control or put systems in place that will give millennials and Gen Zs a path to retirement?
$4 million is how much money millennials will need if you want to retire comfortably. Study from Seeking Alpha found for anybody who wants to retire by 62. Now, what's really shocking is not just the dollar amount there, but the number. Now, there are 22 million millionaires in the United States compared to 332 million people, meaning only 6% of the population has $1 million net worth. And if you're a millennial that wants to retire comfortably, you don't just need that, you need 4 times that to be at 4 million. So the chances of you hitting that are actually even less.
Now listen, millennials, this is a clue. Millennials are not 55 to 65. So look, the first generation that shifted into 401ks are now getting ready to retire. 55, 65 years old. If you look at the median and you see that they're at 60,000 and half the people have less than that, and you say, okay, sign me up for that program, you've got to be very, very smart and very, very careful.
One thing that's even worse than that is that's the people with a 401k. In America, 50% of Americans don't have a 401k.
Have no plan.
They don't have a defined contribution, and they don't have a defined benefit, the old guy's pension plan.
Let's talk about a word that's starting to sound like fiction, retirement. Ask the average 50-year-old how much they've saved. The answer, less than $50,000. That's not even 2 years of basic expenses. Forget travel, medical bills, or any kind of peace. Nearly half of adults approaching retirement age have nothing saved at all. That's not a red flag, that's a 5-alarm fire. And don't count on Social Security. That check is shrinking, and Congress treats your future like a game of political ping pong. They argue, you starve, you don't retire in this country anymore, you grind till you collapse. You're more likely to die on the warehouse floor at your second job or behind the wheel during a graveyard Uber shift than you are to retire comfortably. But hey, if that happens, don't worry. You won't lie dead for hours without anyone noticing. Your manager will be alerted when you've spent too much time off task. That system's always watching, not to protect you, but to keep production moving. Because in this economy, you're not a person, you're a metric, a line item on a spreadsheet. A replaceable part. Retirement isn't the reward at the end of a long career anymore. It's the finish line they moved until it vanished.
This is how much it will cost you to die. First thing is a certificate of death, which can be around $100, but we're just getting started here. Next thing is the transfer services, which can be about $100 to $500. Third thing, and the most expensive thing, is the casket itself. These things cost thousands of dollars. Or if you want to be cremated and put in an urn, that's about $1,000 for the cremation and then about $100 for the urn itself. Then there is the body preparation. Your body has to be washed and cleaned to make sure you're ready to be buried. But we're still not done, because then there is the actual funeral ceremony, which can run you about $2,000 just for the viewing itself. And then if you want to be buried, there is the actual cost for the plot of land in which your body is going into, which is about another $1,000. So the most conservative estimate, it's about $8,000 to $9,000 to die. But if you live in a country where there is no free healthcare, you got to factor in the hospital costs before you died as well, which according to statistics is about $10,000.
Alright, say you make it all the way through. You grind until your bones hurt. You do everything right. And then death still sends a bill. The average funeral in 2024 costs between $8,000 and $12,000. Cremation, the cheap option, now runs $2,000 to $5,000 depending on the zip code. You can't afford to die, and your family, they'll either go into debt trying to bury you, or they'll start a GoFundMe and pray people feel generous. We are now too broke to live and too broke to die. Let that sink in.
It appears that the American dream cannot come to the phone right now because she is dead, or at least on life support. Because in this report, they went state by state and figured out exactly how much you would need to afford the traditional American dream. This is for 2 adults that have 2 kids living in an actual home with a car and a pet. So the starting cost is $109,000. Also keep in mind the average salary in America is about $63,000. So, and maybe it's just me, but I thought that the American dream also included 1 stay-at-home parent, because I don't think they included daycare in these numbers. So that basically assumes 1 person is bringing in this much money. Anyways, I'm sorry if this ruined your day.
Y'all know that we are slaves, right? Like, we're currently all slaves. Slavery never went away. It was just remodified as the working system. Every day you have to get up super early, spend 8 hours a day away from your friends, your loved one, your family, work for pennies on the dollar to make somebody else richer than they already are. And then you get hit with all these bills that you can barely afford because going up. Things are way too expensive. And once you pay off all your ridiculously expensive bills, you're broke and have to go to work again the next day. And then once you get paid again to pay your bills, you're going to be broke again. It's literally a rat race. It's like the guinea pig on the hamster wheel. And I know I'm not the only one that feels this way, because I just got paid and now I'm broke. And don't get me wrong, I have money saved up, I have money in investments. But literally the chump change I got paid from my 2 jobs is all of a sudden gone because it went to bills. And now I have to go back to work again, wait a whole week to get paid to pay bills again. And the same amount of money I'm getting paid, people have 2, 3, sometimes 4 kids. I'm like, there's no way people are surviving, making the same money I am with dependents. I don't have any kids. I don't have a place of my own. I'm still living at the crib. Yet these people have like a whole bunch of bills, mouths that they have to feed, rules that they have to keep over their head, clothes that they have to buy. How are y'all doing that with the same amount of paycheck y'all get as me? It's literally impossible. Financial freedom is a whole flat out lie. It's unless you were inherited money, grew up in a rich family, hit the lottery, heard a crazy sports betting parlay, you're never going to get rich. You're never going to get ahead because they don't want you to get ahead. They want you to stay slaves and depend on that job and work for the next 40, 50 years of your life. And when you finally can retire with the little bit of money that you were able to save, you can enjoy it. Your bones are going to be too brittle and weak to enjoy it. You won't physically be able to do the things at an older age compared to when you were younger. The United States working system was designed for us to be slaves for 40, 50, if not 60 years and then die. And then what happens when you die? They take half your money because of taxes. Don't get me started on taxes. That's another scam system that they created to keep you broke. It makes no sense how we go to work, bust our and then they illegally take money from our paycheck. And then when it comes time to file taxes every single year, they demand you to pay more money on top of the money that they already illegally took in from you. The American dream is to get the f out of America.
Well, the American dream is officially dead. According to a new study, it takes a whopping $3.4 million of lifetime earnings to afford the American dream, when the average American only earns anywhere from $1.7 to $2.3 million over a lifetime, leaving over $1 million gap. It's a shame that what this country once stood for is becoming harder and harder to achieve for the average American. And you and I both know why that's happening. Housing unaffordability is through the roof, and prices of everything have skyrocketed when wages have not kept up. Now, I want to hear your number. Is it more or is it less? I think for most people, $3.4 million is probably right on the mark when you include that house, when you include kids, when you include cars, and when you include health insurance, which is a damn shame. And the only way that this is going to change is if wages catch up and outpace inflation for a significant amount of time. And I have no idea if that's going to happen in the current economic climate.
We were sold a dream: go to school, get a job, buy a home, raise a family, retire in peace. But here's the real pipeline: go to school, get in debt, work until your body breaks, rent until you die, and pray you don't rack up 6 figures in hospital bills on the way out. Homeownership, dead, kids, a financial liability, retirement, fiction, stability, gone. You're not lazy, you're not broken. The game changed and nobody told you. You're out here playing by 1995 rules in a 2025 war zone where everything costs more, pays less, and breaks you faster. And while you're bleeding time and energy just to stay afloat, they keep gaslighting you into thinking the middle class still exists. It doesn't. It didn't shrink, it vanished. And now you're being told to chase a lifestyle that doesn't even exist anymore, just to blame yourself when you can't catch it.
Most people have a spending problem, not an income problem, and I'll show you how to figure out which one is you. You have an income problem if your living expenses are more than your income, meaning the bills that you have to pay every single month, the things with due dates, your groceries, your gas, anything like that. Sit down and write down all of your living expenses and the amounts of them. This is not going out to eat. This is not DoorDash. This is literally your bills and then your groceries and your gas and your things that you need to survive for the month. If the total there is more than your income, then you have an income problem and you need to bring in more income. You can also cut expenses, try to call and get discounts on the bills you already have to try to lower the expense amount to try to even it out, but you're going to need more income. Now, if you sit down and you list out all your expenses and you realize that you actually do make enough and you have enough on paper, but you always feel broke throughout the month anyway, you probably have a spending problem and you're probably spending a lot more money than you think you are, which is the case for a lot of people. Go through a past bank statement with some highlighters and see where is all your money going. Once you figure that out, you're able to build a budget that actually works because you can include the things that are important to you in your budget and you can reroute this extra money that you have been blowing to other goals and you can make progress really fast. So if you're just starting out, that's where you start. Figure out which problem you have, and then next, you can go watch my TikToks. Obviously, they're free. I also have a free masterclass so you know where to find it. And then I have a $3 mini course if you want to take it. It is called Extra Money in an Hour, and it's going to show you how to find money that you already have, how to get a raise at your job, how to get side hustles. I have a big list of side hustles in there. It's a lot of information to show you how to find that extra money.
Let me be clear. Yes, the system is broken. Yes, you were set up to struggle, but that doesn't mean you're powerless. You still have choices. You can downsize. You can grind smart, not just hard. You can learn to play the new game instead of clinging to the old one. You can stop chasing status, stop flexing for people who don't care, and start building a version of success that actually works for you. Because while it might not be your fault, it is your responsibility. It is your fight. This world owes you nothing, so you better figure out how to take something back. You don't need to make it by their definition. You just need to survive the storm and build something real on your terms. And that is your accountability check. Let's wrap this up. Yes, it costs too much just to exist. And if you're feeling tired, bitter, or broken, that's not weakness. That's a rational response to an irrational world. The system failed you. The dream they sold you is dead, but the grind doesn't stop because life doesn't care if you're exhausted. Nobody's coming to save you. No politician, no job, no policy. It's just you. You waking up every day and trying to survive a game that was never built for you to win. But here's the part they can't take from you. Your awareness, your will, your refusal to stay silent. You're not crazy, you're not lazy, you're not alone, but you are on your own, so move accordingly. If you felt this, hit the like button, drop a comment, let me know how you're surviving this mess or not. If you got wisdom, share it. If you got pain, air it out. No face, no fluff, just real talk. DonTheConMan out.